Hey, good morning, and welcome to If You Godly Men, Volume 3 with your man, Pastor Reverend Artel Belma Sr., brought to you today by Spirit of Excellence Ministries, and we're on If You Godly Men, Volume 3, Part 7. Volume 3, Part 7, and we're still following the experiences in Volume 3, primarily of Abraham, who was once known as Abram. So in the last episode, if you get an opportunity to go back and listen to that, you will see that God shows up and makes a covenant with Abram and changes his name to Abraham and changes the name of Sarai to Sarah because God was repositioning them for what God had for them in the blessings to come. So now we're going to pick it up, the 10th chapter. We're going to pick it up with the first verse and kind of see what is going on with Abram or Abraham now. So you see these words, and the Lord appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre, and he sat on the tent door in the heat of the day. And he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him. And when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door, and bowed himself towards the ground, and said, My Lord, if now thou art here, you have found favor in my sight, pass not away. I pray thee from thy servant, let a little water, I pray thee, and pray ye that I may be able to fetch and wash your feet and rest yourselves under the tree, and I will fetch a morsel of bread and comfort ye for your hearts. After they have seen this, and it shall come to pass, for therefore are ye come to your servant. And they said, So do. And they has have him listen. And Abraham hastened into the tent unto Sarah, and said, Make ready quickly 3 measures of fine meal, knead it, make cakes, etc., etc. And then Abraham ran back unto the tent to Sarah and said, Make ready quickly. And he fetched it and he executed it, and the young men all were hastened, and they dressed the calf. And he said to them, Go get butter and milk, and bring it forth from the calf. And they did as Abraham said, and the 3 strangers did eat. So let's go through this. There are 3 main points I want to take out of these, and there are a lot of verses that we want to cover, so we may just skip over some of them, but let's go through it. First, God appears to Abraham as 3 strangers in the land. You know, it's interesting that some would say, well, why did he bow himself to these strangers? But at the end of the day, he felt that the strangers were there because of the providence of God. He had been in situations where strangers show up that represented the angel of the Lord, and he felt that he knew that these strangers came from God. So let's figure out with this. Abraham then treats and honors the strangers as God taught him. You know, Jesus said unto us in the New Testament, in the New Covenant, I was hungry and you fed me. I needed shelter and you provided shelter. I was in prison and thou visited me. And the disciples said unto him, Father, when did we do these things? We don't recall these things ever being done unto you. And he said, When you take care of the least of me, the least of these, you have done it unto me. Hey, God expects us to care for human beings because human beings reflect the image of God. We don't have to agree, we don't have to like, we don't have to endure, but we are to treat the image of God with the reverence and the honor that it deserves. Abraham then honors them with food, with water, and not just a offering, but his best offering. He got the milk, he got the butter, he got the best calf, he had his wife knead cakes. They could have just given them water and a morsel of bread and sent them on their way. But Abraham gave his best blessings. Now, what was the result of Abram giving his best blessing? And they said unto him, where is Sarah thy wife? And he said, behold, in the tent. And he said, I will certainly return unto thee according to Sarah, where did the old and the well scripted of age, and it ceased to thou Sarah after a manner of woman. And basically what he said, the strangers prophesy and give a response to the blessing they received from Abraham. And the blessing or the prophecy was Sarah would give birth to a son. And Abram and Sarah were stricken of age. So we go back again and look at the previous chapters and the previous episodes. Abraham was 99, Sarah was 90. They were well beyond the child rearing ages, and they couldn't see themselves producing a child. And here are the angels of the Lord prophesying something that God had already communicated, and they were in struggle because it was hard for them to believe. Verse 12 says, and Sarah laughed within herself, saying, after I am waxed old, shall I have pleasure? Now, let's look at this. We don't have time to read the whole thing. But in the 14th verse, she says this, is anything too hard for the Lord? At the true time appointed, I will return even unto thee, according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. Then Sarah denied, saying, I laughed, not appointed, and I will return unto thee according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. Then Sarah denied, saying, I laughed, not for she was afraid. And he said, nay, but thou did laugh. Hey, doubt shows up when God shows up. God shows up and speaks a blessing, and we sometimes as men will laugh at the blessing of God because we see it as something that's impossible. But the angel said, is anything too hard for God? Remember, is anything too hard for God? Sarah got into shame because the angel of the Lord called her out and held her accountable for her response. Just as Adam was held responsible, just as the serpent was held responsible, just as Eve was held responsible, just as Cain was held responsible, just as Noah was held responsible, just as Abraham was responsible for lying to Pharaoh. When we don't do it God's way, fear, anxiety shows up because we're not doing it God's way. Look, we're going to see other situations that show up with Abraham and Sarah, with Sodom and Gomorrah, with Lot, because when we don't do things God's way, when we don't treat people the way God would have us to treat them, there is always consequence. In the Old Testament, we call those consequences curses. In the Old Testament, we'll say certain things are benefits. In the New Testament, and we call them blessings in the Old Testament. Hey, may God bless you. Hey, may the favor of God fall upon you. Hey, may God keep you until next time. And don't allow the things of the enemy, the fear, the doubt, the confusion to lead you. Go and walk and depend on our God and the Father and the Son, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit, because in our God, who is the author and finisher of our faith, all things are possible, and unto him nothing is impossible. God bless.